Thanks. I've got to echo a lot of what Saeed and Nick were just saying there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking at how organizations can optimize their performance from the assets that potentially have already been built in the world today, and how digital twins can actually help those. And I'm going to be focusing on a selection of different types of customers and the practical implementations that these guys have looked at and faced. So one of the things that we find is, unlike with a new build, if you start with everything in one go, when your building already exists, you've got innate teams within those and they've been working in a particular manner, it generally doesn't work. Quite a lot of them don't even have an up-to-date asset register, let alone sensor feeds or connected platforms or any of these things. And frankly, a lot of them don't even know who their energy supplier is, let alone anything else in their portfolio. So you're starting from a completely different point of view. And trying to do the full twin from day one, it just complexity, delays, and everybody loves the idea. But 2 years down the road, and you still don't have sign off, and it doesn't go anywhere, and people are still doing it on spreadsheets. And so what I wanted to look at was, when we look at digital twins today, all of the ones that have worked have started with answering 3 simple questions. So what have I got? And where is it? Sorry, it's stuck on. How is it performing? And how do I optimize it? You don't need to start with all 3 of these on day one. You can just start with one of them, one problem. What is actually slowing you down today? And then build on it. And that's how adoption spreads. Not from the tech first thinking, but actually solving the problem. And then what we find is these things gain momentum, they gain a life, and the teams start finding solutions and problems and things for themselves to fix. And so if we look at a few of our customers, like Transport for London, the Swedish Royal Courts, Welsh Water, Everyone Active, their issues have been access, communication, siloed knowledge. And when you come with those kind of challenges, starting from a visual method has generally worked best. What assets exist? What do I have? Where is it? What condition is it in? And it's not necessarily the 2D floor plan or the technology that does it. It's about removing uncertainty, whether you're running inspections or onboarding new teams, or just trying to understand what's been handed over by a contractor and having it in one place, not in 10 different systems and 10 different platforms, and ultimately getting it out of somebody's heads and stop relying on people's memory. It's that clarity that enables us to start the process. It's the starting point for everything that follows. And the power of knowing really helps people. What we've seen is it takes the guesswork out, enables clearer communication. And for companies like Transport for London, independently verified results have shown up to a 44% OPEX saving is potentially achievable through automated asset inspections, remote access to the tracks. With people like Centric and Welsh Water and all of these guys achieving remote inspections, allowing them up to 26% capital expenditure savings from knowing where something is, where to go behind the walls, where the junction box is, giving that foresight and that visual means so that it's out of engineers' heads and into the hands of those that are actually going to be utilising the information. Overall, on average, across all of our customers, we're seeing an average of 30% reduction in on-site exposure to places that maybe you don't want them to be, or they don't have access, manufacturing plants, like Transport for London, they've got a 4-hour operating window each night, and that's only on the lines that aren't actually running 24/7. And for remote inspections and things like Welsh Water, where they've got to go across the Highlands just to do a site visit, and it takes over 3 hours, and that's if it's not raining. Ultimately, it's faster, safer decisions for all of these people. And then the next thing that you want to be able to do is look at what is the challenge or performance risk? What is the compliance? And if you're looking at those kind of things, then we're going to start with data. It's moving from the pure visuals, and it's not saying, yes, it's going to be lots of new numbers and all of those kind of things, because ultimately a lot of people operating the buildings still don't understand how to read graphs or understand how to compute that. But they can understand red is a problem, green is not. A text message and an alert on a mobile phone saying, yes, your temperature's too high, you forgot to turn the heating on, or you forgot to turn the air conditioning on. It's about when safety thresholds are being crossed, where CO2 or PM 2.5, your air quality is spiking, where nobody can actually see it, but sensors and systems and things can find it. Now, we can retrofit in these systems. We can use systems that already exist. Ultimately, when you're looking at data, it's understanding what you have and what the gap analysis is, and then helping you make the most of those before you then start with proper capital expenditures. And when you've got the power of knowing how something is performing, you know what's happening as it happens. So you can get a text message alert. You know that you forgot to turn on, like, for example, in this illustration here, this is the Cabbage Patch. They had a beer delivery. They forgot to turn the air conditioning back on after getting match day for for Twickenham. Beer delivery, that's over 300,000 pints of beer that they serve on a match day. By not having this system in place would have cost them all of their goods, all of their services, and all of the revenue for that day. So they can fix things faster. Real-time alert means actions in minutes, not days. On average, you can save around 10 to 30% waste on energy and operational efficiency within the first 6 months, sometimes even as quickly as 3 months. You're gaining ROI. And you're staying ahead. We can automate through having some of these data systems and being able to automate reports. You can stay ahead of your compliance and avoid those penalties. Anything from your ESG reporting to your carbon tracking. And as I mentioned, we can sometimes even save the beer. And so how do you optimize? I mean, what does this really look like in the real world? We know that, spotting problems before they become failures, like catching a fridge door that's left open or anything like that is key. Automating routine tasks so that reports are done without chasing. Fixing waste and where energy leakage is, actually being able to see whether you need to do window replacement first before you add solar panels, or just opening certain floors at certain times of the day, or just actually getting somebody to unplug the heater when they leave the room or turn the lights off are simple things. And all of those things that they were talking around just now with the One East Side, those are all the same things that you can do retrospectively. You can just take your time to get there. We want to be able to fix waste, find the root cause. What is causing your air quality issues? Sometimes you might think you know, but you don't actually really know. We want to reduce the risks, identify hazards early, and ultimately make the invisible visible. When you send somebody to site, they're going to go with the right equipment, the right tools, the right information. You're making the right decisions with the right tools, everything all at the same time. You don't need a perfect twin. What you need to know is something that you can trust, something you can act on. And when you get this, they gain a mind of their own. Teams will find uses for it that you didn't even know existed. And it's just making it simple and starting with one problem that we tend to find makes people gain, and these things gain momentum. Thank you.
Linda, one for you while we wait for the Slido screen to pop up so we can all see the questions. You have a really diverse customer base, everything from the Swedish Crown Courts to Transport for London. What are the common starting points for people so that you're helping them with pain and questions, but how is it that people come to Spinview? What's the common starting point?
Yeah, they tend to be complex places. They're aged asset portfolios. They're complex in the fact that they're either working places, like the Swedish Royal Courts is a working palace. People live in it. They actually have royalty guests within it, and so they need to be able to operate, maintain, and access it without actually entering site. So in many respects, it's very similar to Transport for London with the fact that you need to operate, maintain, and manage it without actually going to site. And the same with the utilities. So within that respect, anybody that has disparately wide or portfolios that they can't access into those environments, the digital twin allows a really great control command center. You can see what you've got remotely and you can see how it's performing and then make decisions on it so that when you do need to go to site, you're optimizing your time there and you're reducing the amount of time that you do actually need to be there. So that's the kind of great things that we tend to find that work across all of those clients.
Perfect. And what a lead into the first question for us as well. So you mentioned in your presentation that this wasn't about starting with technology or looking at everything from a technology first lens. So we've got an anonymous question here. How do you stop clients jumping to the solution or the technology and actively engage and discuss the problem first?
Actually, sometimes we just let them kind of go all over the place for a few minutes, because once they realize the power of it, they kind of need to go there. And then we really try and hone in. If I can fix one thing, what is the thing that you spend the most money on? And if I can save you that portion of your money, or if I can save you that amount of time, will that solve will that give you kudos in your senior management? Will it help your ROI? What is the ROI they need to measure? And generally, most people know what that is. And so whilst they've got 10, 20, 50, 100 ideas, actually there's one that costs them the most. One of the big drivers at the moment, for example, is energy. It's costing the second biggest thing outside of personnel. And so actually just being able to optimize on energy usage, see what's performing, and see even which suppliers they've got is a big win. But for others, like I say, for Transport for London, just actually being able to access a site without actually having to go and visit site is the biggest win of all, because it's saving hours and hours of time, resource, and effort.
Linda, a technical question for you. It may be a yes, no. Is there a single ontology that you use for SpinView?
No. We're pretty diverse, really. We, just sort of elaborating back onto the last question as well, we are completely data agnostic in everything that we come in with. And in terms of different customers have different systems, different requirements. So we're pretty adaptive to being able to work within the confines of both the partners, the requirements, and also the legal rules and regulations that there are around those. So no, in short.